Again, just like Wendy, there's no one on the planet like you. But I do think of you as a rebel. We got to sit next to each other at the holistic chamber finally a while back. And I can just feel this rebel spirit next to me. And we are rebels, because if you're living your vision, you're a rebel, because society wants you to conform, be like everyone else, buy, do this, live and die, and don't be passionate. Don't be a rebel. Don't think for yourself. Don't create art or beauty or romance or life and value represent that. So I had to stop just as he popped your face on the screen. Thank you for being a part of today.
Thank you, Johnny. I often say the same thing. It's like being in gratitude and being connected to the deeper, context of who we are is the ultimate revolutionary act. Because we have this multi-billion dollar consumer strategies to try to get into our minds and convince us that we're not good enough, that we need this product and this thing and this amount of money to be worth anything. And so when we connect to who we are and we know that we have everything right here within us, then they can't possibly sell it back to us, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So ultimate revolutionary act here, all of us.
I love it. Wendy, while I'm pulling up Val's prayer, would you ask her about this vision that she has for the globe? I mean, she's leading a global movement herself. It's just it's so exciting.
The one thing I can say about Val is that you hold a big space. And might I say, you're a wife and a mom and a leader, a soulful, you're the girl next door and the person in front of the room that's got we got this thing. You hold space for so many people so beautifully. And, watching you on your journey now, I've known you actually since I went through my transition of leaving corporate, from the very beginning.
I remember
that week.
I remember that meeting in Davie all those years ago.
Wow.
In the clinic. Were you in the medical clinic?
It was in the clinic. Yep.
Like an exam room. That was my office. As a coach, I was a transformational coach, and because I had a medical background, I was given space in medical centers, and you came to meet me there. And so your beautiful energy came in, and just, it takes a lot of passion and purpose and drive to be able to do that. And I think Johnny is ready to read your, and you're also a poet, add that in there too, that you write so beautifully. But I'm going to come back to this question and pass over to Johnny as he's getting ready to read your poetry as your introduction.
Thank you.
Yeah, I honor that moment we had, Val, on July 4th when you and I connected about having you a part of this, and I don't think anything can describe better than what is happening in a moment. This holy moment, and all that is here, all that we turn to face within ourselves and our world is holy. The ground that rises up to meet us and hold the weight of all our sorrows, and the fire of our soul that transforms them into fierce possibilities, golden lessons that illuminate the path before us like light in the darkest night. We rise like the earth, who upon swallowing herself whole gives birth to the mountains. Destruction and creation, all of it is holy. The past shapes us, revealing the self within, just as a stonecutter chips away as the stone to reveal the masterpiece that has always been in the blessing. And take that gift forward into the future life. This is our moment. Our future is waiting for us to dream it into being. All possibilities are here now. So take a breath. Dream. And on this holy day, And in this holy moment, may you recognize the gift you are and all that is within you and share it wholeheartedly with the world. Then let us all step into the future together with love. Val.
Yes, Johnny. Yes, gosh. And I didn't just write that, right? It was written a while ago, but how relevant in this moment, on this day, in this
Right?
time, this unique time. Yeah, yeah. And so much of it is about turning to face what is. I think sometimes I'll say, like, it's like we have this epidemic of escape artists. We're like a nation of escape artists. We're always trying to run away from what feels uncomfortable or what feels confusing or what doesn't feel good in some way. We don't want to face it. And part of being present to what is means being able to open our arms and receive this moment and look for the gifts and the lessons and all that it has to teach us. This is really an incredibly powerful moment, maybe one of the most fragile and fierce moments that we've all experienced in our lifetime, right? Right now, what's happening in our world, between a pandemic, between, racial, standing up for racial justice and all that's being broken open and revealed around that. We're being shown so much about what isn't working in the world right now. And that's a gift. Right? We're invited to come face to face with ourselves and our relationship to life and say, what do I value? What really matters to me? And how do I want to show up? And how is the way that I show up different than how I was showing up 6 months ago? Because of what's happening. So the invitation is to ask, how can we thrive because of this experience and not in spite of it? How do we move through this experience to be so present to this holy moment that we utilize it as a catalyst for change? And I think that's one of the greatest invitations of this moment.
Wendy.
I couldn't agree more. And I love, like, it's where the duality of being fierce and stepping into our power, and at the same time honoring that this is a time where we feel vulnerable, where we're moving through parts of ourselves, and this is all real, to fully embrace all of it and to allow it, to feel it, where we're not numbing it, which we were numbing it with being busy.
Yes.
We were numbing it with being distracted, and now we're being called to have to look at it and move through it and step forward. We do this for ourselves, for our family, for the world, so beautifully expressed.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy. And even to look deeper into sort of even the idea of this duality and say, how do I synthesize that? How do I hold the kind of the fragility and the intimacy of our current experience with the passion and the fierceness and the activism that wants to happen? How can I be a soft, fierce activist, right? How do I come into the space of prayer and compassion, right? With like the rebel, you know what I mean? How do we bring all of that together so that it doesn't feel like, well, I can do this or this? How do I bring in the both and of all that we're experiencing right now? Because there's just so much in that space that's inviting us to show up. So if you're a spiritual person, it doesn't mean going into a cave and, meditating, away and not participating. How do you bring all of that energy into your participation? And those of us that are here, like in this conscious spiritual path, and we're walking this middle path, recognize how important it is for us to participate right now. Right? And so how do we bring all of that energy together and make a difference?
Yeah. And be okay with, staying home in bed one day and watching Netflix and then getting empowered and coming back out and doing the nature walks and all that. I love that you always, you bring in the environment and you speak about, healing in the same way that you talk about being fierce and being bold and being seen.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so important what you mentioned. It's like, when we talk about getting active and participating, that can look like so many things, right? It can be frontline activism as we typically think of it, with demonstrations and all that we're seeing in the streets. And it can also be, looking at the root causes of what's happening and creating educational experiences or green buildings or permaculture design. And it can also be going into that spiritual practice and taking time to nurture ourselves and really look at our perceptions and what we think we know, and going into a deeper sense of self and doing that inner work. These are all ways that we participate, and these are all ways that we are actively participating. There's not just one way to do it. So I always say in small and large ways, right? And that could be like getting a day of rest, right? And becoming and feeling that sustainability inside of you, or just showing up as a just incredible parent, and being a great guide for your child. Like, there's so many ways that we participate in this moment, in this time. And that's definitely important to take a look at.
So where does the courage, not just to write something like that, but to bring it to the world, to your art, this vision of that prayer was inside of you, and you brought it out. Where does the courage come from to step into um, writing something like that long ago, and all of a sudden some guy pulls it out of the air and is reading it globally? Tell me about, where does your courage come from?
That's actually a pretty easy one, Johnny, because I believe that when we remember who we are, and this is part of my vision, is to help all of us remember who we are, to really tune into a deeper sense of self, really deeply connected sense of self, to recognize our interconnectedness with life. And I think that brings us into a deeper sense of psychological and spiritual maturity. And so when we're in that deeper space of maturity in ourselves and in our world, we recognize that the words that we speak, the actions we take, the thoughts we think, every way that we show up is bigger than just us. And when we can trust in that, it gives us the confidence to stand in our gifts. It gives us the confidence to be that channel. Like you just say, what needs to happen right now? I'm feeling like something wants to move through me right now that's bigger than me. So it may look like, a beautiful poem or a prayer to the world. It may look like an action that needs to be taken. It may look like, whatever it is, you're connecting to a deeper wisdom that's in you and even beyond you, right? That wants to come through. And I think there's the courage, there's the confidence. It's all in knowing that who we are is larger than our individual selves, and yet it takes each one of us individually to express it into the world. So if I were to hold back in any way, I would not only not be serving my deeper sense of purpose and the meaning that for why I'm alive, but I wouldn't be contributing to the larger vision of what it means to be human on this planet. So my courage is all wrapped up in that. My confidence to be who I am fiercely in the world is all wrapped up into that. And with humility and with the biggest, wide, broken, open heart, it's all right here. So that's it. And that's what I wish for everybody. Goodness.
This is just all right. Men of the world, come join my party. We are backing these women, man. This is just, come on. It doesn't get better than this. Wally in the green room, right? Tim in the green, and Tim's in the green room with all our women speakers that are coming up. My goodness, this is magic. This is beautiful. This is divine. It is a spiritual movement, that which affects the spirit. Yes, children should have food and clothing, and movies and pop, and people should. What is that? There's a saying: "To much is given, much is required," and you, like you said, I can't. I have to bring this out. Wendy.
Yeah, I'm thinking about all the moms out there, and I'm thinking about all of the women that are also alone, to know that they're not alone, and that if you're a mom, that your kids are going to be okay, and that this is a period of expansion and growth, and you represent that. And yes, we have to go through the turbulence. I like to think of it like we're flying and we have to move through the clouds before the air and or having a vibrational shift and to choose. And something as beautiful like your poem, to be able, hopefully there's going to be a copy of it circulated somewhere. So anybody that wants to read that, so that they can embody those words, to be empowered, that it integrates. Like I know you talk about integration a lot, Val. So can you talk about that, or like a tool that somebody is listening and say, you know, I feel disconnected. How can I feel that sense of fierceness when I am feeling really right now just fragile?
Yeah. Yeah. So much of what you said just resonating with you, Wendy. It's really beautiful. You know, I just finished running actually 2 courses back to back because of I think the need right now, called Deep Resilience. And I ran it's a 4-week course, and then so many people were still asking, so I ran it again. And it was this beautiful 4-week journey that invited us to become more deeply present to what it is that we're feeling right now. And so the first thing I think that wants to be said through me in response to what you just said, how do I feel my fierceness in this moment? I think part of that has to do with acknowledging that there's a lot of emotions running through us right now. So I think if we're human and we're connected to the world, we feel the pain of the world. We feel what's happening in a very real way. I mean, if you're not feeling it, then you're not paying attention, right? That's what we're saying. And there's a very real expression of numbness that tends to happen too when it becomes so big. So I think one of the first things is to become really deeply present to what you're experiencing. Whatever those waves of emotion, sadness, grief, anxiety, fear, whatever's coming through you in this moment, to acknowledge it. Like really just notice what's there. And when I say notice, this is where the discernment is going to come in. So, I'm sure many of the listeners, and I know those of us here, we have a practice of meditation. May not be daily, but we do take time to meditate. And when we go into a mindfulness meditation, part of what we're doing is we are observing ourselves. So we're connecting to a deeper, I would say, the loving observer, right? The one who's noticing our thoughts that are passing through, the emotions that we're experiencing, the stories that we're telling. So coming into a meditation where you become the observer, and you literally, it's about really honing in your inner observation skills. So you become present to the loving observer within you, so that you're creating a distance between who you truly are, which is that part of you that is never changing, and the contents of your consciousness, which are always moving through you, always changing. Our thoughts, our emotions, our stories, always changing, our identities. So when we create that distance, we're able to see ourselves in a different way. So when we're having an experience of grief, let's say, or fear or anything that's coming up, we can actually, like a parent to a child, to observe that part of us that's having this experience, that's having these thoughts. Oh my God, what am I going to do? What's going to happen with school? How am I going to hold this? Whatever it is that's coming through for you, to be able to hold yourself like a parent to a child, from the loving observer, the one who is unconditionally loving and accepting, and take that part of you and just be there like you would with a child who's crying. You would just hold them. You don't need to say, it's okay, it's okay. No, feel what you need to feel. Cry if you need to cry. Be present to what that is. And know that also who you are is more than that experience. So we have both the experience and the recognition that who we are is deeper than that, so much larger than that. Okay. And that even that emotion that feels so big and hard to hold and overwhelming is also going to flow through us, and more beauty will come back, right? So part of it is becoming this loving observer, and the one who's able to hold ourselves and these parts of ourselves that show up, that feel overwhelmed. I think, and then that's big right there, just being present there. And then the other part I would say is, and this is a practice that I actually bring into the course and I share with a lot of people, which is a practice of beauty, of reconnecting to what feels beautiful and alive for you. So be present to what your experience truly is. Look deeper into it. Ask that, what is this about? Why am I feeling this? What am I learning from this? And then also to ground into the present moment, take a breath and see if you can discover one beautiful thing that's present for you. It could be stepping outside and, like, like you said, Wendy, like I'm like, my background is in ecology and deep ecology. So nature is home. It is who we are. So if you can go outside in a moment, take off your shoes, ground your feet in the earth, feel the sun or the rain on your face. You know what I mean? Touch a leaf, like the actual sensation of that touch, or the softness of the petal of a flower. Breathe in the fragrance of the flower. Come back to something beautiful. Because no matter how dark it can seem in our world, there is always also beauty. There is always also the illuminated reality of what we are. And so be present to what is. Remember that who you are is so much bigger than that. And find that one beautiful thing that brings you home to your heart, so that you can move through the darkness, with all of that, the truth of who you are inside of you.
Wow. Wendy, when I called you that first time, I said my vision is in a fun, exciting, and beautiful way. We're going to start a movement. Beautiful was one of those words in my original vision, in a fun, exciting, and beautiful way. Wow.
I think that, beauty will save the world. You know what I mean? Beauty will bring us home. Beauty reminds us who we are. And I think that part of what it means to be human on this planet, like, why are we here? It's like the universe wanted to see itself, so it created an eye. The universe wanted to recognize itself, so it created a human. It's like we are an expression of the intelligence of the universe becoming aware of itself. And so part of what we're here for is to take in the magnificence of what we are. The beauty and the gorgeousness of mountains, and the beautiful 90-year-old woman with all her lovely wisdom wrinkles, and like the gorgeousness of every color of our skin and every way and shape that we are, is to take in the beauty of life. I think that's part of why we're here.
I just have the beautiful vision of everything that you just said. That is awakening inside, actually is reminder, like these very beautiful reminders, and that it's there. Mother Earth she just loves every single one of us. She does get a sunrise, not you. Like, she gives it to every one of us. It's beautiful to see people outside walking again, and really thinking about, like, where they're safest is to go out in nature, to go to a park, to kayaking. People are kayaking and sharing their pictures, and not like the fancy pictures of what you're eating and being all dressed up, like really meaning. And that's what you speak to. That's what you teach. You bring us back home to that which matters most. And that's interesting, that your background has been that. And yeah, and that it's there, that it's, no matter what's going on, the tree is there.
Yeah. And I mean, let's, be real with what's happening right now. Like, these are dark times. There's a lot of pain in the world. There's a lot of suffering. There's a lot of fear. There's just like so much disinformation. People are confused. People are getting hurt. People are getting killed. Like, it's very real, and so I want to, I want to honor and acknowledge that is what's happening. And that is why we have to talk about the beauty. That's why we have to talk about how we resist through joy, or how we embrace what is through joy, is maybe a better way to say that. Right. And that, for us to be overwhelmed by the heaviness of the world, that in a way that paralyzes us, does not do the world good. Right. But we also cannot deny that that's also happening. So we need to be present to what's real, and real with what we feel, and step into that with the joyous celebration of life. So, like, again, it's like not the either or. It's not like, oh my God, if I'm expressing beauty or joy, then maybe I'm feeling guilty because I'm not acknowledging that they're suffering. No, we can acknowledge the suffering, be present to the pain of our world, honor it deeply from a space of love and joy and compassion. And that is what helps us to move forward sustainably so we can continue to do the great work that we're all being called to do right now.
You have it. It's this is divinely orchestrated. As Victor's bringing your information up, because I knew long ago that it's so overwhelming that we could even think about, that children will not have food and clothing tonight around the world, that in a fun, exciting, beautiful way, we're inspiring a movement. And that is what you are doing with your organization. That's what you're doing with the global leaders Facebook page. Oh my goodness, if I need inspiration, I just go on this Facebook page that you've created. And then the other night I experienced I guess it was a beginning session for what your calling is, the Institute. Tell us what that is. Victor has it up on the screen now, how people can go to your site and enroll. But we're all our visions are the same. All our visions are right. We're all together in this. We're creating a collective consciousness and raising the vision of the world. So before we bring Ari on, our next guest, just tell us about your institute.
Yeah, Johnny, thank you. And so, hi, Ari. I just want to acknowledge that you're here. Good to see you. So first, the Facebook page you mentioned, Johnny, Emerging Leaders for Global Change. Emerging Leaders for Global Change. And it's a really beautiful group that's just, I opened it up a little while ago, and it's really quickly being filled with amazing, passionate, powerful people sharing resources, asking deeper questions, sharing inspiration. It's really quite beautiful. So I welcome everybody to join us there on Facebook. And then also, so I am the co-founder and director of Psychospiritual Institute. And everything that we're talking about is what we stand for. It's about helping us to reconnect with ourselves and really develop a sense of psychological and spiritual maturity in our lives. Dissolving patterns of behavior that don't support us, recognizing who we are so we can align our actions with what we know we need to be and do in this world, so that we're showing up fully as ourselves, because a lot of who we are is based on conditions and fears. So what if we could live from a centered space of our true identity of self, right? Our deeper sense of passion, our deeper sense of what's meaningful, what we value in the world, and actually make decisions and choices and create a life based on that. So we support people to dive deeper into themselves and really get that through this deep inner work. That the purpose of doing the deep inner work is so we can show up more powerfully in the world. So it's very much the inner world and the outer world, that fierce, passionate, compassionate activism that starts from within. So that's what we do at the Institute. And we have coming up September 14th is our next fully certified, board certified psychosynthesis life coach and leadership training. So we work primarily in this transpersonal psychology called psychosynthesis, which has been around for over 100 years. It's very much the roots of the transpersonal or spiritual psychology movement. So we're very much the middle path. We bring in the psychology and the science, and we bring in the spirituality and the transpersonal to support our inner growth so that we can, all of us show up and be part of this conscious evolution that's happening in our world. So my website is psychospiritualinstitute.com. And you guys can go there and find out more about it. And the last thing I'll say is that we have a free intro call, which Johnny was talking about. We just recently had one. We're going to have another one on August 10th. So maybe we can post that here. I think I might have put the link there. But August 10th, we have it's a 2-hour intro call. There's going to be fun exercises. You're going to learn more about this incredible transpersonal psychology and find out about our upcoming program. So you can also find out on our website, psychospiritualinstitute.com. Thank you, Johnny.
Love it.